some other basketball news coming out of this weekend was that Blake Griffin is joining the Brooklyn Nets. And, man, if you thought that the Brooklyn Nets couldn't get any better, you'd be wrong. The Brooklyn Nets, the 2021 Brooklyn Nets are borderline unprecedented. And I was thinking a lot about this when I heard this news. Is that because regardless of Blake Griffin currently, you got to remember that Blake Griffin is a 6-time All-Star. He's a freak athlete, and he has been put in a horrible position, or he was in a horrible position in Detroit, where most of the offense had to go through Blake, and Blake has never truly been that sole offensive player. So he was put in a bad situation. He was hurt in Detroit, and he was never able to live up to the 6-time All-Star precedence that he had about himself. So in that case, when it comes to Blake Griffin, the person and the player, I'm happy that he's joining the Nets. I think he deserves some success, and I would want Blake Griffin to get a championship ring, because with the Clippers, the struggles with the Clippers and all of that, and wasting away in Detroit the past few seasons, that's got to be rough on the guy. But I was thinking about the package as a whole and how this compared to the Warriors dynasty that the NBA, at least for the moment in time, appears to be moving away from. And I thought about, and I even went further back, and I thought, okay, Celtics big three, Miami big three, Spurs big three, technically, although the term big three wasn't around when Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan and Kawhi were all together. You know, I'm going back and looking at all these super teams, and it appeared that after KD went to Brooklyn, that the idea of the 3-man super team was kind of dissipating in the NBA. It started to become packages of twos. Steph and Clay, KD, LeBron, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Kyrie and Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. It felt like the NBA was moving back to the 2-man all-star team as opposed to just one ginormous super team and then the field. And here come the Brooklyn Nets being just this unprecedented monstrosity of basketball athleticism and skill. Probably two of the best scorers to ever play the game in James Harden and Kevin Durant, and one of the best ball handlers to ever play the game in Kyrie Irving. And now you're adding Blake Griffin, which is a 6-time All-Star, and he's not a scrub despite the scrubbiness that he's been subjected to over the last couple of seasons in Detroit. And also, there are news that Andre Drummond could also be joining the Brooklyn Nets, although that has not been confirmed. It's just rumors at this point. It's hearsay. And, you know, taking all of this information in, it's just the Brooklyn Nets just appear to be this unprecedented monstrosity in the NBA, even more so than the Golden State Warriors were in their dynasty run between 2014 to 2017, 2018. And the difference is the Warriors were homegrown. Steph was drafted, Clay was drafted, Draymond was drafted. The only piece that they really brought in that made them one of the best teams ever in the history of the NBA was that acquisition of Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn Nets, for the most part, have built this entire team through trades and free agency. Most of their draft capita that they had drafted well over the last 2 seasons, whether that be, you know, D'Angelo Russell was traded to Brooklyn, but I'm talking Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, some of those young guns, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson that got moved into to Brooklyn. Those guys are gone now. And it's really just a super team built on free agency and trading in a way that the NBA hasn't quite seen probably since I would argue the Boston Celtics Big Three got together in 2008. And it's unprecedented. And if you remember, one of the big things about the Warriors and one of the big underlying storylines about the Warriors when they were in their dynasty was you can't give the Warriors a big center, because if you do, then it'll be all over. And I'm not saying that Blake Griffin is going to be that massive big guy center that the Brooklyn Nets would need to, you know, provide some better defense and really bring some size to the lineup, because he's not. He's 6'9", and he's more offensively talented than he is defensively talented. That's what DeAndre Jordan is there for. And especially if Andre Drummond comes into the fold, then that's why everybody's thinking that this team is going to be unstoppable. But You compare these two teams, and sure, the records may not be comparable at this point, but when you look at the pure talent, and especially in a season in which COVID is changing things constantly, the Brooklyn Nets are an unprecedented basketball team, and it's incredible to kind of watch develop, because as I said, Stephen Curry was drafted, Klay Thompson was drafted and developed by Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr. Those guys were developed and grew into a super team with a couple of free agency acquisitions. The Brooklyn Nets had their drafted players and then traded them all away in free agency and trades to build this monstrosity of a super team that looks more like a USA Olympic basketball team than anything else. It's I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I don't know if this team is going to be better than the Golden State Warriors. I don't want to hedge my bets on that yet. I mean, there's a lot to be left to be seen. And sure, it's not like Blake Griffin is going to be able to come in and adjust automatically, but the way that the Brooklyn Nets are building this team and the speed in which it's been done is unprecedented. And they at the end of the day, when you look at the roster for each team, there's going to be conversations for a long time, especially if the Brooklyn Nets win a championship this year, as to who is actually the better team. 2015, 2016, or 2014, 2015 Golden State Warriors, or these 2021 Brooklyn Nets. And it's interesting, again, that this is happening after it appeared like the NBA was going into two pairs. You know, having two superstars in a given market all competing against each other. And now we've gone from two in each market to 4 all-stars on one team, potentially more. It's a scary sight to see. I really want to hear your take on this for you basketball fans below, whether or not you feel like this team has the potential to jump over the precedents and the historical significance of those Warriors teams in the middle 2010s, and where this compares to the super team. This is a new brand of super team. And it's unprecedented. I know I keep using that word, but it's hard to quantify just like what the Brooklyn Nets are doing, and you know, the people that they're adding to the roster. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. You've heard what I've had to say, now I'm interested to hear what you think as well. If you enjoyed this highlight from the show and want to watch more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon.